Welcome to the People's Guild.
Each week we explore the Splinterlands universe with guests from all across the mythical land of Praetoria.
Join us on our journey as we discuss the evolution of the game, the strategy, the lore, and the exciting path that lies ahead.
To support the People's Guild, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, and also check us out on PeakD, YouTube, and Twitter.
Send your questions, suggestions, and epic battles in our comments through Twitter or email at thepeoplesguildspl@gmail.com. We'll feature the best in our episodes and maybe airdrop you some prizes.
Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the People's Guild. Another week, another episode. Happy New Year to everybody. It's our first episode of the new year. It's good to see both of you guys. Quick shout out to Aqualis Marketplace as usual. I know they were experiencing some hiccups with cashbacks. I think they've gotten that since sorted, and things should be moving forward as planned. And actually, I think our guest just made a purchase yesterday that I may or may not have directly influenced. So perhaps our guest Virus can confirm if those cashbacks are working. Welcome to the show, Virus. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, Happy New Year's, guys. Yeah, I can confirm that the cashback is working. So from my latest purchase, I think not sure whether I got conned into it from all the hype or if it's a good decision, but got my hands on a Waka after all this time.
Oh, wow. I was going to ask, was it a Dallin? But it's the other.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't go that far.
Oh, Virus, you already own a Dallin. You must.
I have part of a Dallin. There's I have a Dallin that can be played at some league levels, but not quite at champ, I don't think yet.
Have you guys been seeing Waka a lot? I've seen him a little bit more, but never too afraid of him. Have you guys been seeing him up in champ level a little bit more recently?
I've seen him a couple times. It's there's a certain, there's a meta that's played a lot in champ using Grim Bardoon. So the scatter shots do really well with the, when you can do scatter shot cards, and Waka has more ammo to get with the scatter shots to try to spread that poison now. Grim Bardoon can't be poisoned, obviously, but if you can kind of kill off that back line, you can try to have a chance at taking on that Grim Bardoon.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that play. The I forget the name of the card. It's the neutral 4-mana scattershot ambush dude with the also 4-cost scattershot death epic card. Avaristius is the death card, and then the Drybone Bowdog. Yeah, you could essentially land, because of the ambush, you could essentially land 4 poisons in the first round, which is, it's unlikely, but it is possible.
Does it ever happen? I've got like a Chaos Jailer that I'm always trying to use because I was like so excited for that card, and I think I probably used it 100 times, and not once has it ever landed a poison in the ambush phase. I'm like, is the game broken? Can you land poison in the ambush phase?
Man, I was super excited for that card too, especially for the slow, the poison, the ambush. Yeah. It's got a great kit, but I just can't get him to land a shot, much less a stick of poison. I feel like he's missing left and right. He'd be great in reverse speed if it wasn't for the slow. But yeah. But yeah, let us know how you go on with Waka, man. I feel like, I've played Waka quite a bit, and I picked him up fairly cheaply, not as cheap as he's sitting on the market at present. I think last I saw it was 185 or something like that. But I feel like for a promo summoner, he's giving you a bonus for every time you play and win. 3-mana legendary. Yeah. So fun card. Yeah, that's good stuff.
That's what I was feeling too. I'll have to go back and watch some check out your plays and watch some game footage to figure out the best strategies to use them. But yeah, I mean, for that price, I got him for 187, and it just felt like it was for a legendary promo card, that it's a nice addition there.
Yeah. Are you using it mostly in kind of like smaller mana caps or little league matches? I feel like that's where he does the best, when you can kind of, you have monsters with less health to begin with. I know you said use them against like Grimbardi and Smith, so I know that's not like, but that's where I've kind of seen people play them, and where the only times I've actually lost them is in sort of those little league matches.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten a chance to play him yet, but I mean, that's usually when I've seen it as well, is in the lower mana matches, where you get the 3 mana cost from the summoner, plus that extra damage out there from the poisons that you can hopefully kill off some guys quick.
Yeah, I feel like the sweet spot is under 24, 25, because you look at Grimbard Dune, I think is the tank by default, so that's 9 mana for Waka plus Grimbard Dune, and then you're looking at another 8 for those two scattershot guys. I like it with the Weirding Warrior. You're getting just purely a support, removing the armor and hopefully sticking a poison, wiping them out as quickly as possible. So yeah, it's fun. Well, Virus, we've been. I don't know if you have the habit of looking for each other on the leaderboard, but you're kind of, maybe this is a product of Aftersound always saying, singing the praise of Virus. Oh, he's the greatest modern player that has ever walked the earth. So he's kind of set you as the bar for how I'm gauging against the current modern. So I'm certainly looking for you on the leaderboard every time I check where my place is at. It's tough, man. I don't know how you've been finding it, but I feel like it really comes in ebbs and flows. I might go on a, like an 80-90% win streak, and then I'll go on like a 60-70-80% losing streak. And man, modern at the top it's a tough racket, man. How are you finding it?
Yeah, this since Rebellion's kind of my first time in the higher champion level, so it's a roller coaster of, if you get a couple losses to someone that's, in 500 or so ranking below you, you get wiped out, and that you can go into a little spiral where you just, lose 5 matches maybe in a row, and it feels like you just got knocked out of the top 100. You're no longer on that front page of the leaderboard there. So, but the same thing's true in the other way, is that you can go on a good run and jump right back up there. So it's definitely a roller coaster for me as well. And I definitely would not call myself, as Aftersound puts it, the best player in the game or whatever. But yeah, that was
Virus. I'm going to toot my own horn. I think the last time I heard him say that, he had a tournament and it was you and me in the final. And you remind me who took home the top prize in that one?
I don't remember. It was
that's convenient, man. Yeah, what's going on in Gold, Happy? Are you finding Rebellion as the big difference maker? Are you kind of jockeying for top position? Or are you experiencing similar stuff?
Yeah, definitely experiencing similar stuff I've been playing a lot. I feel like buying a lot of ECR. Definitely shout out to Aqualis. I definitely get, buy some Rebellion cards and put all that money DC I get back into just buying ECR to play more. So I've been playing a lot. I'll get on runs. I'm like, it starts, you see the names you typically start to see up the top of the leaderboard, and I'm like, oh, where's my position? And so I've been able to kind of crack the top 50. I think at one point I was like mid 30s. But then I inevitably will go on a bad run, and I didn't really play much today, and so I just looked. I'm at like 127. But yeah, I've been able to get up there, and not anything where like I'd be winning DEC, but it's been fun to kind of get on those runs and go up against some of those big names again. I haven't really had that for a while since and before kind of like XBot really got rolling, and I was in when I was playing in Wild, and before the change to ban bots in Wild. So it's been a while since I've kind of had that, and because they playing in Modern, like I had some untamed cards that I love and still, they're like my phantom limbs. I feel like it's just like I'm in a match and I'm like, oh yeah, I really want where's my Axe Master? Like looking for that card. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't play that anymore. But yeah, so it's kind of feels good to kind of have that again now that I'm able to kind of have I don't have a full rebellion set even close yet. I probably have almost every card, but a lot of them are still only, silver level at best. But I have some of the ones, yeah, that I think are, you really are starting to see in some of the meta plays. And so it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, I'll do well and I'll feel like I'm in a good groove, and then all of a sudden it's like 5 or 6 losses in a row, and then yeah, you're just toast. And I feel like especially with the way like the liquidity of the matches is going, sometimes like you wait a while for a match and you stop paying attention, you realize, oh, I've got like 30 seconds to set this team, and then you kind of rush and you end up losing to someone whose rating's like much lower than yours. And yeah, and then you kind of you really take a hit. You like losing like 40-50 points, and you get a couple of those, and it's not great. So but definitely been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I found myself much more susceptible to going full tilt.
Yeah.
Well, you
Like the
lose
old good
one,
old
you
days.
lose two, and you're like, oh, there's no way I'm losing the next one. And sure enough, you find yourself 5, 6 in the hole and
So
down 100 rating.
I have this issue too where I'm like, I want to end on a good note, and I'll like be losing, but I'm like, all right, I got to turn this around. I'll have end on a good note. But then I'll play a match and I'll be like, oh, that was way too easy. Like that felt too easy. Like that guy didn't stand a chance. I want something more competitive, or like I really want to try
I'm
like
back in my
this
groove.
combination.
I made that look way too easy.
Yeah, so but just so that it feels like, oh, I wanted something that'll be like closer and more intense. So I'm just gonna do one more, and then like I'll lose again, and then I'll start the whole situation over.
Like the opposite of a gambler's fallacy. Usually like the gambler is saying like, oh, I just lost, I just gotta win, I can win if I keep on playing. You're like, that win was too easy, I gotta keep going. Like that.
Well, so you guys have Rebellion's been out what 5, 6 weeks at this point. I think we've kind of identified the strongest usual suspects, I would say. Obviously the promo cards are potentially I feel like the most fun cards in the game. Mantaroth, I just can't get enough of that dude's kit. He's so much fun with the blast and the Armored Strike. I feel like that I was certainly sleeping on Armored Strike before we saw it in action. But I feel like it's such a fun ability.
And having
and then with the repair
kind of makes it like too, because if Armor Strike's great until you lose your shield, and then what do? It's just kind of a waste of an ability. But yeah, so having the repair right before your turn,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what about the cards that you guys are finding that are outside of kind of the quote unquote meta cards? Are there summoners that you guys have been finding fun, or some support cards that you've identified as maybe people are sleeping on? Virus, let's start with you, man.
Well, the other ability too that was might have been slept on a little bit is flank, because I mean that being able to combine those two with Mantaroth having the shield blast and being able to flank them with certain other cards works really well. But I mean the whole set seems to be weapons training. Weapons training is just it's really strong, and you combine that with certain cards and all those 2-cost cards that each have their own kind of unique thing that they can do. You can get some extremely strong combos, but it's hard to pick a certain card, I guess, in particular that is really strong. Rogue recently beat me. I was using the regular Grim Bardoon play, but it was a ranged type focus match, and he used Chaos Golem and as the front tank. And I've had him, but I hadn't really used him yet. And man, that guy's a beast with with the retaliate and rage, and then it's got the return fire for range. So that's a really good card too. If you're expecting range to happen, and he can pretty much destroy a range team.
Was the play with Yasik giving him the, because he doesn't have piercing by default, right?
Yep, with Yasik, then he has piercing, so he could just he wipes out that front tank with the retaliate, but then any kind of shots that are fired at him, he's bouncing off with the ranged. Since the range is going scatter shot, so it might hit the front, might hit the front, might hit behind there, and then he'd have like 6 speed plus probably 2 more if you're playing a couple more. I'm trying to think of who the ranged are that give the plus speed.
The Countess.
Countess, yeah, Sinesh.
And then the neutral.
Supply runner.
Yeah, supply runner. So I mean,
yeah.
It'll be fast and have piercing and return fire and retaliate. It's a pretty strong card to play there with Yasik.
Yeah, that card's interesting. I'm just, and Jangles and I have discussed this a lot. I'm just so hesitant to play fire because it's the splinter I have the least experience with. I have a bunch of good rebellion cards now, but I have a pretty full set of the Chaos Legion and a lot of the Rift Watcher cards for it. So it's not like I don't have the cards to play, but it's just something I don't have that experience with, and so I don't play it unless I'm really forced into it. Whereas, but I that Chaos guy, I'm just like you said, those abilities. I'm like, man, that looks like such a good frontline tank. I need to kind of maybe get into that more. So it's good to hear that. Yeah, think about that and going against a range match.
Well, I feel like especially with Grimbardoon kind of taking over things as frontline tank, Yasik is that Lily and Grimbardoon play is really tough to beat. And I think until people started wrapping their heads around, how do we counter that? Well, you've got the perfect counter with a summoner in Yasik, given the scatter shot, and he's got some really solid complementary cards. So I feel like you might be finding yourself forced into that corner of fire sooner than later. Hep, you better embrace it, buddy.
Yeah, man. I gotta say though, been thinking about this and figured I'd save it for the pod. And so people aren't gonna hear this too often, but you were totally right, B Jangles, with Grimbardoon Smith, with him being sort of the new Almo, or like the Almo of this set, where it's just like, yeah, he's such a good tank in those positions, and the shield and all, and the immunity, everything. He basically, you swap out him for Almo in that Lily play with 2 healers, and in those sort of that 22, 23 to 30-ish mana cap, it is almost impossible to beat. And it's hard even with Yasik too, because with that low over range, it's hard to kind of get Yasik going. But yeah, man,
with the triage right, too. Yeah. Well, what about so a particular card that I've found to be a favorite, and I don't run into it a whole lot, especially with enraged rule sets. I play this guy. He's pretty much by default my go-to, is the Red Worm Dragon. I play it with Dispa. That's the epic magic
dragon
flyer. The dragon. So he's got immunity, stun, flying.
Okay.
He's really fast. Man, I absolutely love that card. I think I posted something on Twitter the other day with him just going warp speed with Dispa and pretty much untouchable. But yeah, it doesn't seem like the market has necessarily picked up on him being a favorite. I think he's still reasonably, he's under $2. He's kind of middle of the pack of the epic cards.
I feel like it's a weird thing with this set where like every card is around like $60 to $65. You know what I mean? Like even like commons, rares, epics, even some of those, or for like gold level, at least for me, like even some of the legendaries, like that the Chaos Golem is selling for like $4 a BCX right now. So it's actually even cheaper. That's like $25 for it, you know? It's just weird the way the prices have been kind of with this set. Varys, I don't know. Did you get packs, or have you been buying solo cards, or kind of how have you gone about acquiring Rebellion?
Yeah. So for me, I was in a group buy with Mondroid. So him and I and Rogue also was in it too. But we kind of both bought packs together so that we could try to get the legendary title for that. So we initially bought. I think I had something like I can't remember exactly what it was, but I had I think around 2,000 packs or something. So that's why I opened up originally. But that so that probably got me to about gold level for most things. And then I pick and chose and picked the cards early on that I wanted to getting a Kane leveled up and getting a few other key cards leveled up. And since then I've just been kind of watching the market and putting bids in for certain cards. But so I've just been slowly leveling up since there. For the most part, I sold off my gold cards. Even though I know that the battle wagon, that there's a lot of people that are evaluating those and they're going to be, wanting to have those gold foils for the battle wagons. But I'm trying to get the full set going as soon as I can to be able to play with and see which cards might be the diamond in the rough there that I'm not really picking out. And hearing B Jangles talk about Red Worm Dragon, which is a card that not many people will you won't see played all that often. And definitely want to see how he's using it and seeing it work. And it is 6 speed and flying, and it's got that immunity and stun there, so it's definitely looks like it's could be a good card, especially for like a backline protection there.
Yeah, he is pricey though. That 9 mana cost is tough to swallow, but the immunity is fantastic. And I'll usually play what I've been doing is running Thispa with a Martyr up front, and then the Red Worm Dragon in the number 2 spot, and immediately getting his speed up a little bit. And you can usually count on sneaking at least a couple of phases in there to sustain. But yeah, it's a fun play. Sorry to cut you off, Hep. What were you going to say?
No, you didn't cut me off.
Oh. Oh, well, what about so a Kane is obviously the clear favorite for summoners. Avina is right there with him. What about the other summoners? Are you guys finding success with any particular summoner over the others, or is there one that you've kind of pigeonholed as a clear favorite of Rebellion?
Yeah, I mean the Kane, the plays that you can make with a Kane are awesome. And I think it's funny because the Chaos Legion summoners are still kind of king right now with Lily and Pasibilis, I think, and Yasik probably are still like the most played. But Avina, I mean, when you can make some teams that just can't be killed with Avina and in certain rule sets. And if someone didn't, play something similar to kind of keep their team going, you can really wreck people with that. But I think I first saw a match from you when you played it. I think you played it against me too, actually. was Rekla, and in a Thorns match, I think it was. And I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't prepared for the reflection shield. A couple guys having a reflection shield in a Thorns match there, but he seems a lot stronger than I think I was thinking about. I think everyone kind of was thinking Underboss Fabino or Prophet Rosa was going to be the strongest of the rare summoners, but Rekla, I've kind of seen him used a few times now really well.
That reflection shield is a game changer, man. I don't know for how much longer I'll be able to sneak that past the opponents. A magic reflect is a great one that I've had a lot of fun using Rekla with. I'll toss in a Dr. Blight, and what's the epic magic death guy that has immunity and reflection shield. The 4 mana guy with stun. I forget his name. But also, one other magic guy in there, cost reflection shield on both of them, and nobody's expecting it. So you're not defending for magic. And all of a sudden, you've got Blight just sticking poisons and gathering life as you're wiping out the opponents. And yeah, we'll see how much longer before the market and the meta catches up. But I feel like you hit the nail on the head for me, Virus. That's, maybe this is my bias towards Death peeking its head out again. But yeah, I feel like Death really won with, the second strongest summoner of the bunch. I think Avina, it's impossible to knock her off the top of the podium, at least for now. That self heal is just a game changer, especially with the amount of immunity that's present on life. It's so tough to counter. But yeah, Rekla with the reflection shield is definitely a personal favorite for number 2.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Death is my fire Hepthorn. So Death is the one that I don't think that I've played, or I feel like it's almost ingrained in me that I shouldn't play Death, but I got to learn the strategies and see where it's really good to play it at. I mean, I've played it plenty of times and things, but it's just I don't always feel like I'm going for Death. Like, how is Death going to be best in this rule set? I'm usually thinking, how is Life going to be good in this rule set, or how is Water going to be good in this rule set? And usually I'm not instinctively looking for Death.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's like, how do you remember, every set, every card? For me, I was, longest time in Gold, just kind of Death. I played just tons of Death and did very well, and played, Death or Water. But yeah, I mean, especially now, it's like, yeah, you got to play Life more. Even when the Asa came out, I still tried to do it a little bit, but I'm like, I just don't like Scattershot. I just don't like it. Like, I want to be able to, focus my firepower on a certain, whether there's going to be like a sneak or like get up front or like what, no matter what I'm doing, I want to know, sort of have more control. I feel like I'm too out of control with all the scatter shot, and you're just leaving too much up to chance. And like, I probably have some like control issues, which probably go well beyond this game. But it really manifests itself. And like, I understand the strength of Yasik, but I don't want to. And I know you can like play him with a lot of like sneak people too, and like with the piercing, it's great. But yeah, the scatter shot, I kind of just have a panic attack when I have to play it. But yeah, man, Rekla, yeah, Butangles was showing me that the other day, and I was like, something I didn't even think about, like in those Magic Reflect matches, to be able to throw that reflection shield on a Blight in the back line is just, when no one's going to really expect that, and that's was like, wow, it's blew my mind. So I guess I'll tell you, you're right about something 2 times in one podcast. So let's just get them all out of the way right now.
Wow. All right. Well, let's see. Let's go for the hat trick.
But I want to know. I want to hear about the Avina, because I don't have it leveled up yet. I've been slowly buying it. I have like bids on Peak Monsters to kind of just buy it when the price dips, because it's like I said, stuff's a little more expensive. I've been focused elsewhere. But like, what do you think's like? Are you playing it with like Grim Bardoon Smith? Are you playing it with other life cards? Like, what's kind of the best way to use it?
Yeah, I think probably the best way to, or best, I guess, chance to play it is in a game where it's not going to be Magic, and using the Rift Watcher legendary, Inevitable.
Oh yeah, I
So
don't
you
have
can
one of
make,
those either.
if it's not if it's a game where there's not really gonna be much magic damage, Inevitable is just, he's so hard to kill, because he's got the shield, he's got immunity. You give him a heal, and it's just, trying to go through him is just incredibly difficult. Or if you're just more expecting more melee than anything, you can even start boosting him up with the martyr. So you can martyr him up a couple times, and his heals will be huge. So that's he's a good card to play it with. But I mean, Grim Bardoon Smith, giving him a heal the when you give Grimbardoon Smith the heal, plus you have the 6 cost weapons trainer, behind there, you can put another there's another 2 cost card that has triage. So you can put multiple heals and triages and armor repairs and everything like that else in that team, and it's a very difficult team to or line to kind of take down there.
The play that I really like that I've seen run a couple of times, and I've tossed out there a number of times as well, is Avina attaching the self heal to Grimbardoon up front, and then the Moxian Rebel who's got camouflage, and then the Scavo Hireling who's also got camouflage and repair. So Grimbardoon is just the focal point of all the team's fire, and yeah, self-heal, repair from himself, and then the repair from the hireling, tossing out 6 magic damage between the 3 of those guys. It's just what a great play. It's so much fun to weapons training has really changed the face of what Splinterlands battles look like these days. And yeah, that's where I've seen Avina the most effective is either with Inevitable or Grimbardoon.
Nice.
Yeah, I think there's another couple healers and repair, guys in that team now with the Mariput Magician and the Anachron Bolter, that you just have pretty much everyone having some sort of heal or repair or whatever else going on to keep that team alive.
I love that card, man. The Bolter in ranged only. I've been getting a bunch of ranged only kind of smaller mana, and I'll toss out Ilthane with the Bolter and maybe a Martyr up front. And while the Bolter can't attack with its ranged up front, it's self-repairing, and it's tossing back damage, and it's throwing magic at the tank, which obviously you can't. Nobody's playing a Thispa in a ranged only match. So yeah, that's a sneaky play that I've pulled off a couple of wins with. I'm giving away the secrets, man. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to pull these past folks.
Gotta keep the show going so I can be ready for my next match against Bejangles. He's gonna try to throw a curveball next time.
Yeah, you see Virus over there taking notes.
What about winners from there were some kind of pooper cards from Rift Watchers and Chaos Legion that I think we've seen a little bit of life breathed back into, and I'll get it going. Thispa has by far been my favorite play. Obviously Kitty is gone, and there's not a whole lot of True Strike out there. And I alluded to this earlier, but especially whenever enraged rule sets come up and Dragon is available, Thispa is my number one choice. Thispa and Earth, and I toss out the Perryton with a couple of Martyrs, and I think this is another battle I posted up on Twitter the other day with the Chaos Lackey, the True Strike neutral guy that's sitting at the bottom of the very bottom of the barrel at the bottom of the cellar of Rebellion cards. He saved the day with that True Strike Dispel. So Thispa by far has been my favorite card to kind of see become a viable option in the new meta. What about you, fellas?
So I'll say, yeah, some of the ones do you mean like just from Rift Watchers or anything else? I think like Coastal Nymph, maybe from Rift Watchers. Like you said, with the scatter shot, sometimes you just kind of, if you're worried about the Grimdardoon Smith. One of the cards I think I've been playing way more than I used to is the what's that? Is it the Gobson Bomber? It's a reward card, soulbound reward card.
The guy with recharge.
Yeah. Just because, and he's got the recharge and the pierce, and I think in max level he's got blast. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you're just thinking you got to try to get through or get something going against someone who's like a very overall like super defensive play, and I feel like that card has been helpful. So yeah, I think I'm seeing a lot more and be playing myself a lot more things that are kind of slower defensive plays, as opposed to trying to go straight offensive. I also think gosh, what's the no, I'm gonna blank on the name. The summoner, Chaos Legion summoner, legendary summoner. Oh yeah, Possibilis. I feel like I'm playing that a lot more and seeing that a lot more played a lot more. And I don't know if it was just getting rid of some of the untamed cards has made it more viable for some reason, but yeah, I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just some people getting more of the rewards cards, like it was like Coastal Century.
The big double strike.
Yeah, double strike with the Pierce is making it like it's a tough play. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of how I've been felt about it. I don't know. Virus, what do you think?
I mean, I think 90% of my matches are probably Possibilis, Yasik, Akane, and Lily is kind of, the big ones there that I'm probably playing the most. So yeah, Possibilis is definitely one of the ones I use, like probably a top two. It's getting the most use for me. But and if I wanted to pick an interesting card or not really interesting card, but boring old card that I think has won me some matches surprisingly is I think it's Sunkai Harvester.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a deep cut pull there. Virus.
Press. And it's kind of what I'm thinking that the team's gonna end up putting on something that's more used in the maybe with like a future airdrop card or something like that. I have a feeling they might try to correct themselves with Grimbardoon Smith and throw some more useful oppress cards in there. Because that oppress sometimes, because it seems like almost a good maybe third of your matches are played with non-attacking or no attack front cards. So if you can get him fast enough, so if he can actually get the hit, if he can try to think of what the Pelacor Conjure or something like that's up front, or the Grim Bardoon or whoever else, it's gonna do some decent damage with that oppress.
Yeah, I like that card, and I've used that a number of times in matches where I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna see the Pelacor Conjurer, and I'm probably gonna play one of myself in the front spot. Like, let me throw this guy in here, and it has done really well. And I'm like, why don't I do this more or see this more? And then you kind of just forget about it because you don't. I don't know. You don't really think about it that much. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Have they made the change? I guess I haven't really noticed it. Did they make the change where a press isn't negated by weapons training? Because I think that was the issue at first, right? Did they make that change?
Yes. Yeah. So oppress is effective. I think they did that in the release last week, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great call. I'm wondering if, and on a similar note, I've heard nobody talk about Nomos, which sucks. And I'm wondering if that card was actually created before the weapons training buff, because he would have been a great counter, giving dispel to folks on his own squad, if weapons training was still dispellable. And I'm wondering if the team fumbled in updating that, because the -2 magic is not great. I think I've been forced to play it once. It was a magic only rule set, and fire was the only option. So he's clearly the best choice there. But otherwise, yeah, I feel like dispel was kind of a dropped ball from the team. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm kind of waiting for you to pick up on Nomos is a great card and has a lot of usefulness, but I think even you're saying, it's got a couple uses here and there, but it's not nearly as all that useful. But yeah, I mean, if that was a press, that would be a great spot there. But yeah, I mean, I think like
Yeah.
you're saying that if it was before the weapons trainer changes where weapons training was buffed, Dispel would have been a pretty decent card there if you're expecting weapons training to happen. But once they did the updates, it seems like they either didn't take into account for that card or make changes or whatever they're going to do with it. But
yeah, that'd be interesting if that was a press instead of weapons training. Yeah, the -2 magic, it's the issue is you just don't see that many high magic damage cards that do you really need to give 2 of them -2, or you could just, unless like you said, it's a match where it's wands out, but then you really want something with silence anyway, right? So you just want to would you rather give some couple of them -2 or give the whole team -1? Yeah, and there's a lot more silences now too in the Rebellion set than we had before.
I feel like it could be viable if you're expecting a Chaos Dragon play or something like that. I see a lot more Chaos Dragon these days than he's always been a great card, but I think he's become even more meta with all these Grim Bardoon plays we've been talking about and having to work around the tank with Scattershot. Maybe Nomos is a play there. Dropping that Chaos Dragon from 4 to 2, and that buys you an extra few rounds at least with survivability against the Chaos Dragon. But yeah, for now, Nomos is by far the poop list for me. I have yet to figure out a way. Honestly, I think that's the only time I played him. I only bought him because he had crept down to like 65 cents, and I feel like historically the team has done well to kind of bring most folks outside of Dallin back into the picture and making them a viable option. So kind of banking on that. Hoping
if they nerf, like I think they should do, if they make immunity, like if they're not immune to cripple, and there's a couple other things on the list I think they should change. But like, yeah, that all of a sudden Dallin, think of how great Dallin is. If all of a sudden you can't use your Grim Bardoon, your immunities, you can't do that just like Lily heal play, because you can get the Grim Bardoon down. I mean, if Grim Bardoon Smith and immunity is a little too overpowered, I think that's the logical thing. So again, listen to Bjangles, everybody go get your downs now. They're cheap.
There's the hat trick, ladies and gentlemen. There's the hat trick.
There's that trick.
Well, this one it might be a little bit speculative.
Yeah. The other day I was playing a match and I forgot that snare doesn't even affect immunity, cards with immunity, no debuffs. How are you immune to a net? If you're a flying thing, how are you immune to a net? Come on, this doesn't make sense. Immunity is way too strong.
The other one that surprised me too is that silence doesn't affect immunity, that I didn't really realize. So one of the plays I've been playing fairly often is when it's a magic type match or wands out or something like that, there is I'm trying to think of what the card's name is. It has immunity. It's a Blackmoor Nymph.
Yeah, I was talking with someone about this the other day,
and I was just doing it for the immunity because it kind of negates blight. If you're gonna put blight in there to try to get some kind of damage out of magic, if you use him as a front tank, then it kind of negates that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not even getting silenced by the Fat Yoda card. What's his name?
The Fat Yoda card.
Goblin Psychic.
Yeah, it's the Goblin Psychic.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can still get that 1 damage out of it. So I didn't even think, because I was looking at that the other day and I was like, this seems to make, I played it, but it was kind of a match where you didn't have enough mana to play the Goblin Psychic and Blight. And so I ended up getting into Fatigue, and I ended up losing because someone else had played one other card that had 1 health higher than me, which is annoying. But yeah, no, I was wondering about that. I was wondering if that holds up, or if
having the Rune Mancer Flores and higher amount of matches where she has that ranged attack, if that would kind of take her out because the amount of health isn't high enough to be healed if you only have 1 heal. That's the only thing I wasn't sure of. I don't know if have you seen that, or Have you had that take effect at all?
Well, she holds up for a little while because so she's got, I think, at least in champ. So I think she's got 7 health in champ.
Okay.
And Florier has I think 4 damage with the
4 damage.
ranged. So it can, and it's getting healed. If you're getting healed from Goblin Psychic, then you're getting, I think,
3?
something like 3 per.
Yeah.
So it'll hold up for a few rounds, at least with Florier. But enough time for you to kind of take out a few cards and let your Florier do kind of, you know, some work
Yeah.
while it's going. So it's definitely a card that I'm using pretty often now in Magic only matches.
Okay.
Out.
Yeah, especially with Immortalis.
Yeah. Well, that's what I did, because I got that. That's one of the first cards I've got. That Blackmore Nymph, one of the first cards. Or probably like the 3rd or 4th card I got up to like max to gold level. Or actually maybe only up at a level 5, but because I was thinking about that, and it's like, oh yeah, that immunity will be great for that. And then I feel like, yeah, I've only had a couple of opportunities to play it, and then. See, it's the same though. He's like, buy a card and get excited to use it. And that's the other thing I'll go on a tilt too, because I'm like, I just want to get a Wands Out match and try this and see if it works. And then, yeah, you get it, but it's like not enough mana to really make it work. Or, yeah, you just get a dozen, back to basic rule sets and want to slam your head against the wall.
Back to basics. Let's talk about it, man. I think we are long overdue. I feel like when I get one back to basics, I'm fully expecting like 3 out of the next 5 matches to also be back to basics. When it rains, it pours, man. And it is just Virus. You were trolling, I hope, a little bit the other day. I posted that I wish that the team would kind of obviously not include new rule sets alone, but also retire some rule sets. And I feel like back to basics has got to go, man. There's so many better alternatives to back to basics. Like I put out the idea of, instead of back to basics, just put together, 3 different rule sets where abilities are capped at particular leagues. So whether you're playing in champ or gold, you could come up against a bronze level ability rule set, or a gold level ability rule set, which I think could be really fun, and certainly far superior to the nonsense that is back to basics. Gosh, I hate back to basics, and shout out to Aftersound. He's kind of leading the charge with the biggest following in camp. No back to basics. I would love to see that rule set go. Yeah, go the way of the dinosaurs, man. I hate it with a passion.
Yeah, I think I was trolling on, it was the X, or Twitter X, we're gonna call it, but had the somehow back to basics, when you have back to basics in the melee only, and everyone just got to line up one at a time and just they fight one-on-one. It's like a little fight club. Everyone kind of like stands in line to go and fight for their turn to fight. But yes, I think I said this is the peak of strategic gameplay right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the counter proposal of essentially three different rule sets for bronze, silver, gold, or 4 rule sets: bronze, silver, gold, diamonds level abilities coming in to replace back to basics? And I feel like it could go. Obviously, it works really well in Diamond Champ. But the opposite, I think, could also be true. It would encourage folks to level up key cards, expecting that rule set became available, and then your cards would play to the number of BCX that they were maxed out to.
So in Silver League, you could get a diamond rule set where you could, if you just had a maxed out card, then it would get its full abilities. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, it sounds very cool for champ and diamond, where you have the cards. As for lower leagues having to punch up with cards, it's interesting whether it should be that, should Diamond League only have, or sorry, should Gold League only have the silver and bronze ones? Like, should only be allowed in leagues below it? I mean, that'd be the compromise. But the way that you're saying it too, like that silver could get a diamond rule set, would be certainly an interesting one.
Well, I feel like Matt is always pushing for how do we encourage folks to go to the next league? And if you're slowly building your collection, maybe you're playing in silver and you've got your water deck advanced to gold level, for example. There's a clear benefit now to reward that collection versus the alternative and what the status quo is now. You've got to go completely into gold to take advantage of the investment that you put into building that collection slowly over time to advance it to gold. So I can see and understand the pushback, but I feel like it could be a fun new way to continue that encouragement of pushing folks to go to the next level.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I feel like I could see them definitely doing it more as, they would be capped like by league, where players like you're saying, like, Diamond and Champ would get everything below, gold would just get gold, silver, or bronze. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. Give me like, more of a use for my Lux Vega. That would
or a Waka.
Yeah, or a Waka. Yeah. Or down, it's so cheap to get.
Well, I feel like it certainly would be a controversial proposal to put that out there for the community to respond on, but I feel like the benefits outweigh the negatives on that one for sure. As long as back to basics go, that's the underlying goal.
Is anybody like beating the drum for keeping back to basics? I don't think I've heard anybody, but have you guys heard anybody who's like, no, we should have this for this reason or whatever?
I've heard Fat Jimmy, and shout out to Fat Jimmy. We love you, man, but God damn it, you're wrong. We've heard him say he loves playing back to basics. I just don't. I can't wrap my head around it. I don't find a shred of fun in back to basics. So maybe he was trolling and I missed the mark on that sentiment. But yeah, I think it might have been in a town square or a town hall. Fat Jimmy and I were going back and forth about back to basics. I called for the end of the back to basics era, and Fat Jimmy very quickly jumped to its defense. So he's the only one, okay. which bodes well for retiring the rule set.
I mean, I don't mind back to basics. It gives certain cards more value than they would ever have. So, there's the cards with no abilities that basically are getting their full stats or their full mana cost and stats on their card. So in water, there's the ranged the Kulu Swim Hunter. That card, its mana cost is all in its stats, and so it's one of the best cards to use in back to basics. And there's a few plays you can make in back to basics where if you can kind of think of those cards that have an increased value in that type of rule set, you can play. So there is a little bit of a strategic element to it, but it's still the Pasibilis too also gets a nice boon in back to basics, giving that reach ability, so you can have a couple of melee cards.
Well, I feel like and maybe you can echo this one, Virus. In Champ, I run into the Kulu Swim Hunter quite a bit now. It's pretty common. Like, for the longest time, the standard rule or the standard water play was that backline was the Angelic Mandarin, the Bandit, and Uraeus. But I feel like I've been running into a lot more the Murdampier and the Kulu Swim Hunter. I mean, between the two of them, they're tossing out 8 ranged, and they're both pretty fast. The Swim Hunter in particular is really fast, usually attacking first. I mean, I do see what you're saying, but yeah, nah. not enough to shift my perspective on the rule set in general. At least drop it down to like a 10. Like it should be up there with the standard rule set. I think we get standard rule set once every, I think it's like 10% of matches or something like that. Back to basics, the dial is shifted up way too high on back to basics.
I'm just kind of nervous about your proposal because I get wrecked pretty often, and when I try to play any kind of bronze or silver, so I'm nervous about some of my matches being bronze. Where figure out what I'm doing now.
Yeah, but you'd all everybody be on the same footing though, you know. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's tough, Gary, because like it's especially with the time allotted and all the cards you have now. Like it's you look at it and you're like, all right, what am I going to do here? I had this the other day. I was doing going to set my brawls, which don't worry, be jangles. We won't get too in depth about
Oh,
guild brawls right now. But I was going to set my teams, and I had forgotten. Had been doing just the modern format gold league, and I forgot that I had chosen like the all cards gold league. And so I've been playing. You know, I play some wild too, and so I just didn't. But I wasn't expecting it, and so it's just like I got in. I'm like, all right, let's get to it. And I just completely had forgotten that that's the rules that I chose, or like the fray I chose. And so I was like, I just saw all these cards, and I just like froze, and I just panicked. I was like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And because as soon as like you think about it for like sometimes I'll look at it, think about it, and then look at the other team's person set, and then click through to create my team, and then it's just like, oh my god, I panicked. But yeah, I feel like it would be a lot of that, and like you're like, oh my, like just I'd be like frozen, or like, all right, what am I even going to do here? Where do I even begin?
I'm going to take it one step further, and we just saw the proposal for, I think it was bronze and silver leagues that were up to be amended for banning gladiators or banning the soulbound summoners, one of the two or both.
I think it was just bronze.
It was just bronze.
Yeah.
And obviously that is a DAO proposal up to the mercy of the big dogs of the game, who, for the most part, are completely removed for what is actually happening in bronze. Well, if this rule set came into to fruition, all of a sudden the big dogs that are playing in Diamond and Champ would have a direct view into what it is like playing in bronze. And as soon as you see those Gladius cards, running the table, maybe it's a different conversation. So it's a good kind of sneaky way to get eyes on the new user experience for folks that are just coming into bronze from the biggest stakeholders in the game that are playing in Diamond and Champ. So I'm gonna dig deeper in on that idea being I'm gonna put the feather in my cap on that one. I think it's a good idea. I like the concept, and it forces you to be, if you're gonna be on the leaderboard in Champ, you should be able to sweep the floor in any of the earlier leagues, smaller leagues. So yeah, in order to be the best, you got to be the best of all the leagues. So I feel like there's a well-rounded argument to removing back to basics in favor of these four new rule sets.
When's the last time you played a silver or bronze level match?
This morning, I finally escaped. I finally escaped bronze on my alt. I've been for the longest time. I've just let it run with Xbot in wild, and I've kind of gone back and forth, and usually left with my tail between my legs, just getting it handed to me in bronze. It's such a tough. It's the gauntlet, man. Bronze is an ugly place, but actually this morning I just escaped and I'm almost to silver too. And back to the what I said a moment ago, the way I escaped was spamming Captain Katie. She was the horse that I hitched my wagon to pretty much the entirety of that exit from bronze.
Nice. I wondered though because I mean in Champ and Gold, we kind of see the cards with the full abilities with Rebellion. I have a feeling there could be a whole different meta for Rebellion that's happening in Bronze and Silver right now with those cards. Like I don't know if Grim Bardoon is as good in Silver as he is in Gold and Champ. Because with the weapons trainer cards, like the 4-cost weapons trainer, if you're only giving 1 damage to Grim Bardoon, he can't do, and if he can't do any damage to another card with Void or something like that, or whatever else, it might not be nearly as much, nearly as powerful in those leagues. So I'd be curious to hear if he's just as powerful in those lower leagues.
Yeah, not having the shield, I mean that makes it interesting. I because since I'm playing gold and Moxie and Rebel doesn't get two till diamond. She doesn't get two magic attack till diamond. And yeah, I will forego playing that, giving him any sort of attack. I feel like sometimes it's just not worth, or that 4 mana can be used in a better way. And I sometimes more wanting to put, especially if I'm playing him with Lily, I'll want to put someone with Lookout. Like I like that water card with Lookout, the Soothsayer and a Soothsayer, because it's got the heal and the Lookout, and I'll like to put that behind him to give him so you can reduce the damage that he takes even more. And I feel like that's kind of a smarter play than to just give him the one magic attack and just waste another card slot. It's probably better to have Blight back there somewhere too, than have that card there. So yeah,
that's another ability we haven't talked about just yet is Lookout. I made the very silly mistake of parking Lookout next to the Mycelic Slip Spawn. I was 100% banking on the opponent playing water, bunch of attack power with Deep Lurker and the what's the reward card, the Mine Hunter. Obviously they past the threshold of force field, so they're going to be dealing 1 damage. Well, I played the Lookout, and all of a sudden my Slip Spawn was gone before the first round was over. I was thinking that Lookout would drop the damage to 0, but instead it dropped the damage to 4. So yeah, lesson learned. I will not be making that mistake again. But yeah, Lookout is in opportunity or sneak only rule sets. That Lookout is a complete, or snipe. Yeah, Lookout is a complete game changer. Is there some plays that you guys have found good success with on Lookout that's kind of outside of that?
I'm wondering if that is the same bug that New Age and I sent to Splinterlands QA team, because I was playing against New Age and he had Underboss Fabino, and so he bumped up the damage on 2 of my cards because he had Slip Spawn in the back with Lookout behind it. Not really thinking about the Lookout, but he had Slip Spawn, so he bumped up 2 of my guys to have more than 5 damage, thinking that they would get the force field and it'd pretty much negate the damage from them. But because he had bumped up the damage but then used Lookout, it made it so it was 4 damage instead, and then it pretty much cleaned up his force field there. Is that the same kind of play you're talking about with Underboss Fabino?
I didn't play Fabino, I don't think, but yes, 100%. Slip Spawn just got wiped from the table when usually it's one of the best tanks in the game. But yeah, Lookout definitely went against what my expectation was. Hey, do you feel like that's a bug or is that by design?
That was by design. So if you use Fabino and then you give the other team damage that puts them over 5 damage, the Lookout reduces the damage before it comes to them. I mean, I don't know whether I guess it's debatable whether it's a bug or not. That it should either reduce the damage after he's being hit, or it should reduce the damage. I guess what they're saying is that it reduces the attack by 1. The attack of the card, which doesn't really make as much sense, that it's reducing the attack of 1 for it to get around the force field.
But it's a Lookout, right? So he's like looking out and he's like, oh shit, look at that coming, and you can kind of protect yourself a little bit before you get hit, so you take 1 less damage, and then it gets under the force field. So I guess you just gotta, if you're gonna do that, you just gotta know not to throw the Lookout back there or do one or the other.
I mean, but reading the card, it says that they just receive 1 less damage. It doesn't say that it reduces the attack of the other card by 1.
Yeah, so that's a good call. Is looking at the text, and it feels like that should be a bug then. I want my rating points back. Yabba, what's up, man? I feel like Lookout is kind of the sleeper of the new abilities. We you know I don't know if I have chosen Lookout once with a cane, for example. When I feel like it actually could be a very powerful tool to negate the opponent's play. Have you guys both have a cane max for our respective leagues? Have you guys ever selected Lookout versus the ambush play?
I haven't. I use Lookout with, I like that neutral card, the new Eagle Reach, Paulus, behind Grimbardoon Smith, again, or like I said with the Soothsayer, or I like the life card, the Thalanorian Archer, because I like to do that what is that, Silver Shield Knight? Is that not Silver Shield Knight? What is the new Silver Shield guy?
Silver Blade Fighter.
Oh, Fighter. Silver Blade Fighter.
Yeah.
And then behind him, Manaroth, and then behind Manaroth, what is that Soulbound Reward card with the Taunt and the Martyr, and then the Thanalorian, and then Jin Renova, and maybe another 10 keel if I have some room or something like that. If I have that, that's just like such a strong play. Or I really like that. It just crushes people. It really crushes people. So yeah, I'm kind of using it all over the place. I haven't used it too much when it's like all sneaks to throw something in the back, but yeah, for that, in that situation, I'm still using Lily and then Grimbardoon up front with like Paulus behind it, because then it's like everybody with melee's got sneak, and so it does a lot less damage. And yeah, that then like I feel like those are the only people with like the real big attacks I can get through the Grimbardoon Smith, so it helps to kind of reduce that damage a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Soothsayer with Wave Brood. They're kind of like her in front of Wave Brood. She gives usually if it's a water play, there's gonna be some kind of opportunity attacking in there somewhere. So, or the sneak cards attacking in there. So it definitely gives a little bit of extra, strength to the Wave Brood there. But either that or like you're saying in the life play, if it's a snipe match and you want to kind of have a beefy snipe protect card, then you can use that kind of right behind the whoever you're thinking is going to get sniped there. But I haven't used it. I should use it more in the where I'm expecting ambush, because I think that's like I said, one of the more popular summoners to use. So if it's a match where you're expecting ambush, it's definitely something I should be thinking about and throwing in there.
Yeah, I think I speaking for myself at least, I've always failed to remember that that Lookout affects ambush also. Additionally, all units take half damage from ambushes as long as Lookout is on your team.
Is that on the whole team?
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so that would almost completely negate like that Chaos Dragon ambush play.
Yeah, I think Hawks just did a video with where he was talking about the how unfair a Kane and Katrelba is together. He was saying this is broken and everything else, and I was just thinking about, oh yeah, if you had used a Lookout in there, then Katrelba couldn't really do nearly as much damage in that first salvo at least. Or if you were expecting Katrelba, if it got to a point where that was more of a meta play, then you could put it at behind whatever the backline card is. You could put the Lookout card in front of it and kind of keep something from really dying from Katrelba.
Yeah, that's got to only be a viable option in brawls, right?
Yeah, I mean brawls, or probably like a mid to low mana gladiators rule set match.
Right.
It is very strong when you give Katrelba the ambush ability, because once she kind of starts going, getting 2 attacks and in the beginning, if she gets some speed and then gets a couple more attacks real quick after that, she can wipe out a team really easily.
Yeah, interesting. We so are you guys anticipating some sort of announcement around, obviously Town Hall got bumped from this week to next week. I think there's some pretty big anticipation around what is going to be announced. Personally, I'm hoping for something around new rewards cards, something to do with the current rewards card set. We've had it in the game for over a year at this point, I think. So I think we're overdue for some sort of announcement around Rebellion rewards cards. Is this something that you guys are hoping for? Either a call for the end of the current set or an announcement around a new set when it's coming out? Do you feel like it's too soon, given we're 5 weeks into Rebellion? Where's your guys' heads at on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely would be nice for them to at least say when they're, what their plans are for it, that they have like a plan that it's going to be out, and whether it's going to be out in 3 months or however long it's going to be, but that, like, yeah, we're currently working on the next rewards cards, and we expect it to be out around this or some certain time. I think in the next one they're probably going to give something about the, when they're expecting the soulbound rewards cards to be unlockable for land. I think that's already, that's already been talked about, so they'll probably give some kind of time frame on that. But yeah, and I think definitely getting the new rewards cards for Rebellion. I don't know if it should be immediately, just because we just got the meta shakeup, and to kind of keep things fresh, they may want to hold off on it for a little bit, so that in 2-3 months, when things are feeling like, oh, everything's kind of, we know what the meta is, that they can shake it up again with rewards cards.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, I still don't have anywhere close to most of my rewards cards the level I need them to be. Finally, I do have 2 BCX of the Kulu Mastermind. So I really would like to at least get one more, get him to level 2 at least, before we move on from that set. It's just I just haven't been able to kind of get them. And there's some of the ones too, like I really want, like just like a Venari Marks Rat. I just want it in gold foil. Just want 1 BCX in gold foil so I can use it in gold foil bras. And like I just can't get, like, why can't I just get that one card? It's a common card, gold foil. That's it. I just haven't had it. So there's a couple cards that I really, really still want to get my hands on. But yeah, so that's why I am kind of hoping that if they are going to announce a new set, that they'll have a plan, also for unlocking the cards and kind of get that finalized. I know Dave was talking, and talking with us about, and we've talked about here whether, what the cost should be to unlock it. And I don't know if he ever, I don't think I saw, unless it was like over the holidays or something, I missed it, if he ever brought that proposal forward. So I don't know if maybe the team just has an idea of what they want to do and he's talked to them about it, or that just kind of got put on the back burner for now until at least they announce that the set's going to be closed. But I don't know, Virus, do you have any thoughts on that, on what you think would be fair for cost to unlock soulbound reward cards?
I mean, I guess I haven't thought about how much, because the debate against it is that the bot farmers are going to have all these cards ready to go, and that the prices are just going to plummet. But just the initial cost from the current proposal for unlock just for land is the CP cost plus or times 2, where half could be paid in vouchers, I think. And so that's the current cost of it, which I didn't know why it needed to be much more than that to unlock the cards completely. But I mean, there's a lot of people that have opinions that then you're just going to basically be handing money to the bot farmers for them to unload. I just don't know if the market is, if you make it too high, I don't think that anyone's going to unlock them. And if you make it just what the current proposal is, then people are thinking they're really flooding the market with them. But
did you guys see the proposal that Axler was kind of banding around with his proposal was essentially to the tune of, these cards are never fully unlockable. They're purely tradable through swapping vouchers. So you essentially need to pay something like, I think he had suggested something like 10 or 20 vouchers to quote unquote temporarily unlock a soulbound card from your account, essentially unbinding it from that username, and then it can be transferred to somebody else. I really like the idea of using vouchers to essentially just trade the soulbound reward cards. Obviously there is a price that is attached to vouchers, and bot farms would potentially be able to pull something out. But I think as long as the cards are unlockable, is there any way around bots being able to pull something out? I mean, I think we just have to chalk it up as lesson learned and do things a little bit differently in subsequent reward releases. Did you guys see that proposal from Axler, and what was your take?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I think I was on one of his streams where he's kind of laying out his idea about that. So I'm not sure I saw the proposal, but yeah, the idea it seems good. It's the idea that you could just unlock it temporarily and then make the transaction. So if you wanted to put it on the market, you pay the unlock fee and then you put it in the market, and then once someone buys it, then it's back to being kind of locked again. Or you could put it up on the rental market, is what he was saying. The only thing is that really, I mean, the reality of it is that the team usually does things that are already built into the system for the most part. And if they're going to do something that's outside of the system or have to put a big feature around it, then they'll try to shy away from that, or it's just going to take a long time to do it. So if that temporary unlocking thing, if I wanted to sell the card to someone, you'd probably have to put in new features in the market for cards to have a one-time unlock and then be locked again. And I don't even know if the markets would work with that, or would it just be all player to player trades where they can't go in the market, but you're just trading them. I don't think that, not everyone uses Discord and player to player stuff or has access to, or I mean, they have access to it but may not use it. So I don't know about keeping things where they're just kind of tradable personally. I know we're kind of doing that with grain right now, but that's just until the grain LPs come out. But it's definitely a good idea. I think it has a lot of merit to it, that it's just a temporary unlock. It's a nice voucher burn. But in reality, would the team implement it? I don't know if they would.
Yeah, that's kind of my take on it as well, is how hard would it be to implement? Yeah, that it's kind of that second part of it, right? That where it locks back again. Like, how do you ensure that it locks back again after there's a transfer? Yeah, I'm not sure how you make that work. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I get that people don't want the bot farms to be able to dump a bunch of cards, but I don't know if it's going to be able to burn a lot of DEC doing it. Then I think it makes sense. I mean, I'd like to see it. There's certainly cards I would definitely buy. And it's going to be tight if you want new players to be able to come into the game and be competitive. It's kind of like, you don't, does it affect onboarding new players if people have there's all these awesome cards that you can't even get, right? I mean, think of how often do you guys use at least one
of those rewards cards in a match, like how many percentage of the time would you say that you use at least one of those cards in a match?
It's practically every match.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say 90%. Yeah.
90%. Yeah.
So there you go, right? Like it's, I mean, it's a nice idea as a players here that, you'll have like that competitive advantage. But I think, do people just get frustrated and say, well, I've already missed the boat on this. I'm behind the 8 ball. Or I mean, does it motivate some people to want to stick around and try to earn the new set? And yeah, probably. But, people can get frustrated. You get frustrated. You can do one of two things with this game. You can spend money to get the thing you don't have that's beating you, or you could, throw your hands up and quit. So yeah, I mean, the bot farms have been around for a while. They're here. I guess, yeah, it gives them more money, more incentive to stick around. I know there's some people who would like to get rid of them at all costs, but I think the ability to kind of burn some of that DC, the ability to give players and new players the chance to get those cards, I think kind of outweighs the negative of maybe the bot farms being able to turn a little bit of money. And that's the thing, the cards are, they have to spend the money, and how much are they just going to throw a bunch of these cards up on the market for a few pennies over the unlock costs? I mean, I don't know. Does that I don't know if that makes sense or makes it profitable for them, but we dealt with rewards cards being on the market for pennies for a long time. So
still,
yeah. So
yeah. Well, have you guys given any consideration to how does this become a non-issue, if at all, with subsequent reward card releases? Is there any way around kind of facing this predicament moving forward?
I mean, I think in a perfect world, there'd be a system set up where it's, the team already knows that on such and such a date is when the new rewards cards are going to come out. Like they already have it for like the next set, saying that on this certain date is when the next rewards cards are going to come out. Maybe it's even with the new set release. So you get the new set and you get the new rewards cards, and everything's kind of coming at the same time. And that the unlocks happening at that time. But right now we're going to be in a 2-year cycle, possibly, of these rewards cards. If they're not coming in the next, 6 months, then it's there's going to be a huge overprint of these cards similar to the previous set. And with a huge overprint, you get a lot of people that are willing to sell them and not as big of a market. So I think that if you have scarcity in the cards is when they do have a market, and yes, there's cards that I still need too. I still need my Kulu Mastermind and Soriel the Bale, and I think the Dragon Summoner I don't have to level 8 yet. So there's still a good number of cards I need, but there's also a good number of cards I have way over the amount that I needed. So I think having the cards switch to a new set when there's still scarcity is probably the best bet of how you can do it, because everyone kind of wants the cards when they're still scarce.
And do you feel like it should be kind of a slow drip of new cards? So, every couple of months we get a couple of cards introduced as being available in rewards chests? Or do you think it should be similar to what we've done in the past, where it's just boom, here's the new set of rewards cards? I mean, we pretty much have seen, we talked about it when when this current reward set dropped. It's pretty much a full set. Summoners, very meta monsters. You can rent for a handful of seasons and all of a sudden have some semblance of a team to field every time after picking up a handful of cards from the reward set. So should we move away from offering that many cards at once and into a world where maybe it's just a couple of cards per splinter that are getting dropped per every couple of months?
It's tough. It's a toss up because it was fun. When those first reward cards came out, and there was, being able to use my level 2 Marks Rat in Champ because I knew that getting that martyr was going to be a great boon to my cards, and figure out where to use them was pretty fun. Like figure out how to use those or fit those cards in there. But that was only because there was a ton of cards. If it would have been just a few cards that dropped, then I would have had them leveled up really quickly, and then we'd move on to the next ones. So I don't know exactly what all the benefits are to only having a few versus having a large set like that. That takes a long time to kind of level them up, because I think there's still a good number of players that don't have their sets leveled up at this point. We're I think are we over a year now where we've had these?
So yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know which one's exactly better.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I don't know. I mean, Virus, how do you feel about the summoners having reward card summoners? This is the first time we've seen it, and that's sort of always been a gatekeeper for the game, and people who have cards or want to rent out summoners, rent out some of your cards, is that you kind of had to either rent or buy summoners to play the game, even if you wanted to just get cheap rewards cards. Where I took a tumble like maybe a month back and landed in silver. Not because I was like, I didn't spend enough time getting my playing to get into gold 3. I just ended the season in gold 2, and I dropped back into silver, and it was just like a disaster. It took me forever to claw out of it. It took me almost the whole season to get back out of it. So never again, hopefully. But I just saw tons of those summoners. Like people are just playing those summoners at silver level, those soulbound summoners, and playing tons of Gladius cards. And so yeah, it's kind of interesting. That's like you could totally survive in probably in bronze. I don't know if Jangles, you saw it a lot. Maybe you were in bronze. Did you see a ton of people just playing those reward card summoners too? Because I think you can survive in bronze and silver with just those summoners.
It's Lob Loman and Korra is the huge play, and it's tough to counter unless you have those cards.
Yes, I mean I don't know that the summoner. I mean, it's a double whammy. It's the summoner and the fact that it has the gladiator cards with it. So, I guess the first question is, should you have had summoners and rewards cards? And that's probably not. It probably should have. The summoner should have probably stayed as cards that you need to acquire in some way to be able to play, to give them that additional utility. But especially for giving the gladiator cards with it was just a double whammy, because now it just makes the bronze and silver league kind of infested with the gladiator cards plays, which I know that there's the proposal right now to kind of try to do away with, and we're trying to kind of fix that after the fact. But yeah, I think you really should have to put some kind of purchase into it, of purchasing, whether it's just a summoner and you're playing with your rewards cards, or you need something more than just the rewards cards in order to be able to play.
Yeah, I wonder if I have to. I don't know if we ever heard this called out directly, but I have to kind of speculate that the Gladius summoning reward card summoners was a push to encourage involvement in guilds, and therefore be able to spend your merits and participate in brawls and all that sort of stuff. I wonder if that equation actually panned out, and I don't know if I've ever heard anybody call out specifically what the stats and adoption of playing in guilds has looked like before and since those Gladius conscription summoners came into play.
Yeah, I have one of my alts in a tier 2 guild, and so you do see a lot of accounts that I think there's a lot of people with accounts where they pretty much have all the accounts in a guild. Like they're pretty much running their own guild with their own accounts and everything like that. But I mean, I definitely think it's good to try to push people into the ecosystem of guilds and participating in brawls. It's a hugely rewarding part of the game, being able to play in those. So, but whether it was effective or not in getting players that may not have been participating in guilds and getting them into there, I don't know. It would be interesting to see the metrics from that, though.
So what about is it too early to ask what are you guys hoping for with the next reward card set? I definitely have my mind on a couple of items, abilities that I'd love to see more of in the game, especially or legendary airdrop summoners. I would love to see some more flank come into play. Whether that's a summoner ability that with one of the legendary guys coming up, or a slew of new monsters in the reward card set that have flank. Is there something in particular that you guys are jonesing to see come out with one or the other?
Well, I'll steal something from what Virus was saying earlier. Like, what if you get a legendary summoner that gives everybody a press? That changes it some, right?
Or the tactic of a press, yeah.
And do we know yet if the legendary summoners are going to have both dual element and abilities, and like a summoner choice of abilities?
I keep forgetting that dual element is an option. I don't know. I feel like Nate alluded pretty strongly to that being a very real possibility of both tactics and dual summoner. Oh man.
Have you guys thought about dual summoners at all? Or and I know they're still kind of like, it seems like they're still kind of expensive. And Django's, you talked about you wanted to get the water death one, but have you done that? Tried that out? I've seen dual summoners and like maybe only like a handful of times, and maybe only lost to them a few times, and it's mostly in like lower mana cap settings. But yeah, I don't know. Have you guys played with them at all? Thought about it? Seen them?
Yes, to all the above. I see the water death and the water life probably the most, and used. I think where I see the water death, for example, most often is ranged only. Being able to get the Queen of Crows and the Wave Brood out there on the same squad is pretty tough to beat. And then the water life is both of those teams have such good low mana monsters and support cards. That's where I've seen the most and where I've seen them implemented the most. What about you, Virus?
Yeah, so I think I just got my second one maxed, so I was able to play it today with in a silent summoner match. But I played the card for just I couldn't even use the second element, but just for the 3 mana. So it was life and I think earth, or sorry, life and earth. But I had the earth and fire summoner maxed. So I wish I had the life and the earth one there that I could use, because I could use both cards from it for the silent summoners. But even just for the little bit extra, the 1 extra mana in earth, I used it because I think it was like an 18 mana match. It was kind of like the stars would have lined for that to be the perfect card there. But I think in the silent summoners matches, definitely that they definitely shine. But I feel like once I get them and I kind of start looking at combos, I'm lucky I have not faced the Wave Brood and Queen of Crows at the same time in a range only match. That sounds pretty scary for a ranged only match.
Yeah, shout out to Macy. Macy, one of our guildies, sister guildies, and also one of the top leaderboard champ players. Absolutely housed me with that play, Queen of Crows and Wave Brood, and yeah, ever since. I've been trying to play that as often as I could. Plus, you get the access to the I always forget its name. The 4 mana ranged protect card from death, plus the soulbound, plus the soulbound Ninja Turtle with repair and giant killer on water. Yeah, those 2 cards are super meta, and the fact that you can field both of them with either in either a ranged only or a silent summoner match is just silly.
Yeah, it's a brutal match.
Yeah, the Ravenhood Warden.
That's the one. Yep.
Yeah.
But about the potential for dual summoner legendaries, do you guys suspect that it would be obviously we've got 5 common summoners and therefore access to 2 I think they went the route of like friendly elements that could be teamed up. I don't suspect that we would see if the ability to field 2 elements from a legendary summoner, it wouldn't double dip, right? Like, so we already have Zedica that allows for water and death. We wouldn't see a legendary summoner that would allow access to the same 2 splinters. Do you guys suppose? What do you think?
I mean, I wouldn't think so in Rebellion. I think they'd probably, yeah, like you said, they did the friendly. So there's no water fire, for instance, because that wouldn't be the opposing colors. They didn't really do that, but yeah, I wouldn't think we'd see the same ones just with a legendary. We'd probably see something that doesn't currently exist out there.
Man, having some death cards with access to all those resurrects on life, that might be fun.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that'll be the legendary set as all the opposing, colors as the legendary summoners.
But that would just put us at 3, though, right? Because you'd be like fire, water. What's the ones we don't have? Fire, water, death, life,
water, earth.
Oh, we don't have water, earth, death, earth.
Fire, life.
Yeah. So yeah, they could do a full set.
Death and earth. Yeah, there would be.
Twice. Yeah.
Oh, it's confusing. But yeah, it feels like there would be room for 5 more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe that's the plan.
Well, life and death. That would be a fun one. Zerial definitely sets the precedent for that being possible. And I think that the lore of the corrupted Pegasus was something similar. Like a Pegasus fallen from grace.
Oh yeah.
That went to the dark side of squad death.
I don't know. I feel like Darth Squirrel would have to be Bulldog's Darth Squirrel would have to get the life death one there.
I was thinking Earth death.
Yeah,
but
Earth
yeah,
death.
I could.
You're right. Yep. No, you're right. Earth death.
Yeah. Yeah, could be fun, man. But yeah, the so flank and oppress is what Hep and I are kind of pining for. Is there an ability or something that you have thought through to any degree, Virus, that you would like to see more of?
Yeah, I'm wanting a beefy life close range card. So I can have something to tank up front and ranged only with Ilthane. They took that, or what was it, Hero from Beyond? They need a new Hero from Beyond.
New Hero from Beyond.
Because there's a lot of times where I think I lose plenty of times in range only matches with Ilthane with between life and water cards that can just do better in the range only than Ilthane can.
That's such a tough call. I struggle making that decision every ranged only rule set, whether you opt for life and therefore you don't have an attacker up front and you're just hoping for out sustaining with damage getting thrown back. And I often lose those matches because of Ilthane. That play seems to be, I would love to see like an amplify come to life with a ranged monster.
Yeah, I feel like I squeeze out those wins against Ilthane, going with Dragon and Death.
Queen of
Just able to
Crows.
have just enough. Yeah.
Yeah, or the Naga Assassin, like then usually end up putting a martyr and then the Naga Assassin to get some, throw some damage back just from that speed too. So
yeah, because like having the Ravenhood Warden, you have that shield. It kind of negates Ilthane a little bit, and so when not having that shield up, you're kind of able to plow through some of those life cards. And yeah, the Queen of Crows just having a high health, she's usually the one who can kind of pull it out at the end. Yeah,
I feel like Prophet that's a rule set meant for Prophet Rosa, and I just haven't run into that yet. Have either of you guys seen her used to any degree of success?
I mean, it'd be great for is ranged only back to basics.
Yeah,
gross.
I was I actually need to check because I have I did in my alt account I delegated my all my gold rebellion cards, and I didn't get to see my results. I need to go check my results. But I used Prophet Rosa a number of times on that. And I like water ranged attack when it's like really like you're at 12 mana. Because I like the Chaos Agent up front, and then just like a bunch of the two or three, yeah, like or the 4 mana water range card you have, the Dark Spear, Zenith Archer, and then yeah, so I did that, and I threw in like those small, so it was like a couple of those things where it's like low mana caps, and I used the Prophet Rosa to just throw an extra 2 range on some of those cards, and now you're dealing like 4 and 5 ranged attack on that. Yeah, I should go back and look at that and see how that went, because I think in those really low mana caps that could be really useful.
Yeah, I just got mine to level 8 today, so I'll be able to start kind of eyeing where it might be good to use it.
Yeah, I feel like Bagheera with the shield is an obvious one that I just haven't seen yet. Bagheera, I think more relevant than ever, and I've been saying this forever. I feel like Bagheera is the number one legendary from Chaos Legion, and I feel like it's even more so now. The weapons training has just what's his name, Dead Blast, being able to toss 3 magic on Bagheera is just ridiculous, man. That's a really fun play, and given Bagheera's shield just makes him even more unstoppable. What do you guys think about, so obviously the tactics in brawls and tournaments is not really ideal at the moment. You can still use it and you can select the tactics blindly. And it works really well to a certain degree. It works better for buffing your own team. But somebody like the Boss Fabino, if you want to stick a poison on somebody, it's you're just throwing darts with a blindfold on, pretty much. What is the solution there? Is it brawls and tournaments are extended an extra 24 hours and both teams are submitted, you get a notification to go back in, and then you've got another 30 seconds to apply tactics once you see the team? Is that, it kind of pains me to think that that's the potential solution of extending one round of a tournament an additional, or one round of a brawl an additional 24 hours. But it feels like is there room for a solution that is outside of that could solve the use of tactics in either of those cases?
Yeah, and you're right about the 24 hours too, because players play in all different time zones. So you can't really just make it 6 hours or something like that. It has to be really almost the full day to kind of give people the opportunity to make that next move. But I don't know if there is another solution besides having a whole nother day. And that's for both rounds. So the tournament has two different rounds in it. That means that every tournament's gonna be a 4-day tournament, or every brawl's gonna be a 4-day brawl. Or sorry, not a 2-day brawl and a 4-day tournament for that. Brawls right now, I think, have 48 hours to submit your teams.
Yeah.
So either we make it, then a 3-day brawl, and then tournaments all go 4 days, because you'd have a whole nother day of just the round of your choices. But it's not just for the summoner tactics too, because once land 3.0 or whatever comes out, then the items and spells, if it has to be done for there too. So I mean, I think it's, while it might seem more niche right now to need that choice, it's definitely required once we have items and spells in the game.
Yeah. I don't really see any other way around it, right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, unless you're only going to make everything, decide that you're only going to make things that are, buffs and not debuffs.
Yeah, but even still, it's tough to, you just used a great example of Prophet Rosa with the, it's a buff with shield, it's a buff with range. Then, I feel like you can build a team where both options are equally potentially valuable going into a match, and then you make that decision based on, what is your opponent fielding, and go from there. Brawls, I don't mind the idea of an additional day per round on tournaments so much. Brawls, I already wish that the time between brawls was smaller. So maybe this 24-hour period is taking away from the space between brawls, which I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with. I would be completely okay with that. But I have a feeling that it would be an additional 24 hours, just squeezed in there between, the brawl cycle wrapping up and the new brawl coming in. But yeah, it kind of defeats the purpose as it currently stands, not being able to effectively play tactics with these cards, when that's really, kind of the keynote feature of Rebellion is the ability to field tactics and have that secondary phase of battle.
Well, for brawls, you have it's every phase is 48 hours, right? So you have 48 hours results phase, 48 hours prep, and then 48 hours combat, right? I'm pretty sure that's right. I mean, you could drop 12 hours off of results and prep each and keep the cycle the same. You could probably even drop a day. You could drop a day off results, right? Does anybody really need? If you really care that much, you can go back through your battle history and look and see how you did. If you can't look at it in a day, and I know Jangles, you're probably recently just been completely ignoring your results phase, right? So you probably don't want to look at them at all. Are you sure you want to come back? You sure you wanted to come back around? You wanted to come back around faster so you can get off the bench sooner, because when you have to sit out every other brawl, it probably feels like it's just brutal.
Man, I have had such a rough I don't know what has been going on, but my last probably 3 to 5 brawls, I have just been laying stinkers, man. I just went 1-6. I don't think I've done so poorly. And then on my alt account, I went like 6-1, 7-1, something like that. So I don't know what's going on, but I need to shake this drought, man. It is ugly. I don't like riding the pine, man. It's not fun.
Yeah, I just had my my first sweep I've had in quite a while, so I don't know. It seems to be going pretty well. But no, actually, I think before that I was probably pretty even. Like I had a lot of 5 and 4s and or 5 and 3s, things like that. So pretty even for a lot of them. But yeah, this last one I had that 8-0. That felt great to get that sweep.
Yeah, nice, man. It's tough to do, especially I think for the most part, Battle Helper's been removed. I have my suspicions around certain guilds still finding loopholes to use uh some sort of Battle Helper to their advantage, but I won't name any names on the air. But yeah, 8-0, man. That's something to hang your hat on. That's tough to come by. Well
Are you
done.
guys in tier 4? Are you up in tier 5?
Yeah, we're in tier 4 in
Okay.
Dragon. So we moved up to tier 4. We were in tier 3 for a long time. And we did a little merger with Rogues Guild, the Illini, and so we kind of formed together to kind of get like a tier 4 group going. But I know that the tier 5, there was a proposal to make the tier 5 guilds not take the penalty from if there's less guilds that are in the brawl tier.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's going through, then it might be more of a priority to try to get that arena up and going.
I think it's passed.
What guilds are in tier 5 even? I mean, I don't even know how many there are.
I think there's only
There's
5 or
4.
6.
Tier 5
Yeah,
or
it's
6.
it's not a whole lot. Summoner's Tribe. I just pulled up the list. Legendary Dragons, Immortal Gods, Samurai Soul.
Knights United still up there.
That's all the 5-star guys that I see.
Oh.
Yeah, so not a whole lot. Maybe so. I'm looking at Splex, and maybe that's just showing what their current selection is. But Guardians of Glory. Oh no, excuse me. That's Legendary Dragons. Yeah, not a whole lot, but I do think that proposal passed. Maybe it's not gone into effect yet, but
I think I saw some a little bit of arguing going on in Discord about how is something around the UI wasn't changed, or like they didn't actually put in the coding for it. Like the team hasn't done the work yet for that, even though it's passed and proposed. Like the team still has to then prioritize when they're going to make that change. And there was some people debating in Discord about what's the point of proposals if we're going to pass something and it doesn't actually get done. But really, what the proposal stuff is if it needs work from the team, it still has to be prioritized by them. So it's kind of at their discretion about when they're going to put in the work to do that.
Yeah, that's how a lot
I feel
of
like
things are. I feel like we need to kind of have, before the proposal is even voted on, I feel like it needs to be submitted to the team, and the team, I know they don't want to give timelines on when it could, like, things can be done, but like they should, be able to like provide an estimate on like how many, man hours it would take for them to an estimate to get it done. Because I feel like that's information that we should be taking into consideration, not even just for our expectations on when something will be done, but when we're thinking about like the burden we're placing on the team when they should maybe have their focus elsewhere, or their focus needs to be elsewhere, or we were just coming up with all this stuff because we're just sitting around. We're not the ones who have to code any of it. So we're just sitting around, voting on a ton of stuff, filling up their inboxes with our nonsense that they eventually all have to get to, right? I mean, it would be a pain in the ass. I mean, if I was on the, I mean, it's amazing. It's great that we had this input, but it's going to get really annoying after a while if we're voting on stuff and then getting upset that it hasn't been implemented, while we're also getting upset why they haven't implemented, the dozens of other things they, want to do and are probably more important. So,
yeah, I mean, like that proposal for the no gladiators in bronze and silver, what kind of work effort is it going to take for them to get that implemented, and what's their priority list going to be on that? I mean, I know that their priority for the year is the new player experience, and we're kind of pushing that as being, we're saying that that's a problem for new player experience. So maybe that'll be more of a priority for them to kind of get in there. But yeah, we don't really, I don't know if we talk about or get the feedback of how long an expectation is that we're waiting, or that we're expecting for this to actually get in there. Some of the tournament changes that Clay's been trying to get in, that's a little bit more under the DAO's purview and a little bit under his purview, that he can kind of make changes to the tournaments that are being implemented. But when it comes to a team, UX UI design change for something like that, it's under their discretion about when they're going to be able to get to it.
Yeah, that's a great call. I feel like we're playing backseat driver to stuff that is way outside of the scope of what the DAO potentially could and should be sticking our fingers into. I think and I just looked, it was December the 12th, that proposal to adjust brawl rewards. And it did pass. But yeah, it feels like that's kind of equal parts DAO perspective and obviously development resources that need to be allocated to implement said proposal. But yeah.
And at what point and maybe this is a good solution too, where the team, has said that, they view themselves as one day sort of being, contractors for Splinterlands, right? And we saw some of that with the Rebellion set, right? So is then this is probably where it ultimately ends up, and it doesn't need to get there sooner rather than later with the amount of proposals we've been putting forward. Does it need to be not only is a team giving us a quote on man hours, but a price, right? You want to do this? Okay, here's how much the DAO has to pay. And now, we have to consider our priorities more too. What's more important for us for funds and timing? Do we think is best for the game as opposed to just kind of thinking this would be great, let's just do it, and when all we have to do is vote our stake. And when the DAO, you have to start looking at it, well, we have to consider how much it would cost the DAO and what funding we have available. It changes the equation, everything, and probably brings things into a better balance. I feel like, because I just feel like there's been way too many proposals recently. It's like every time you turn around, there's a couple new proposals up, and it's I think it's not that it's overwhelming, but I'm concerned with the strain it puts on the team.
And that's such a brilliant and simple solution. Is what is the team going to charge us as the DAO for implementing this development? I feel like that's win-win. It would give something for us to spend that DEC on. We would be hiring the DAO or hiring the team to put forth the DAO's proposals, and it would probably curb the appetite for pushing everything through. That's brilliant. Nice call, Hep.
Because also too, we have to have. They're supposed to be at the point where we're not supposed to be there now, but eventually, like there needs to be a separation between Steam Monsters Inc. and the DAO, right? There needs to be this divide for it to be a true DAO, and right now there's not that divide, because it's like, well, we're giving them suggestions or strongly worded suggestions of orders of things to do, and they're choosing, when and how to implement them, and it's just, it's still commingling the entities as opposed to, they're not our independent contractor yet, right? Which is, I think, ultimately the state they need to be in for it to be truly decentralized. And so for them to be that sort of independent contractor, we need to be paying them for a work product that then the DAO owns. And so, that's where it's got to get to. I'd like to see it happen sooner rather than later. Because it gives us a way to use our funding, and it, helps give the team, a source of revenue. It doesn't have to, they don't have to be charging us a lot. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it should be something, if we're going to be monopolizing their man hours, and we're deciding how they're spending their man hours, like we should have to pay for that time.
Yeah, and I wonder if that first taste of that's going to be hiring a Soul Keep dev.
Yeah.
Oh, Soul Keep.
What?
Yeah.
And then, I wonder if there's going to be a proposal at some point, hire a dev for Soul Keep, and the DAO is going to fund it, and they're going to hire someone to kind of finish it off. But that was one of the things I was thinking about. They're not going to prioritize it. The DAO might step in and say, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
how much of a priority should we be placing on? I mean, I know Soul Keep, it's coming up on 18 months, or we just passed 18 months since packs went for sale, and we had the beta, gosh, what, April, March, May, somewhere in there, 2023. So 9, 10 months ago. Obviously, things have gone very quiet after the missed June launch date. And here we are 8, 9 months later, and it's very clearly been put on the back burner. How much of a priority should we, maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm not invested in Soul Keep in the slightest. I do feel for the guys that have invested and have cards or packs, I guess, kind of sitting idly by. And to my knowledge, they're still getting rewarded SPS for holding those packs, I think. What kind of priority does the team, should the community put on getting Soul Keep to a full launch?
Yeah, I think, Soul Keep and GLS or GLG and GLX and all the GLs that they are, those were all kind of, there's the legacy teams commitments that they had made, and boss monsters too, I guess, if we're going to throw everything in there. There's commitments that the team had made, and that by them not fulfilling those commitments, it's a hit on their, on the reputation of just commitments that have been made. So as much as, because I'm kind of in the same boat as you, I didn't put that much into GLG, I didn't put that much into Soul Keep. I thought they were neat, and I put something in there just to kind of support it, but I didn't really put anything big in there. But I think that just to at least keep up with commitments, that they should have at least some kind of priority or plan of how it's going to get finished. But it's, whether they're with their current direction, I don't know if they would make those same choices of venturing out into those other parts with, with their team in under a Matt-led team. But I still think they kind of have to prioritize at least a plan of when and how it's going to be completed.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I put nothing in Soul Keep. And so again, I also am biased into, I don't really care that much about it. But Soul Keep I think is different than Genesis League Sports or Genesis League Goals, and in that it does use Splinterland assets. It is sort of a different style of gameplay, and so maybe you attract different people to the ecosystem than you would people who are maybe not interested in sort of the card auto battler, but would be interested in a tower defense game. I always liked tower defense games. I sort of was like, I would like to invest in this, but at the time it was that sort of whirlwind period where it's like, I think you had like Rooney coming out, you had just like all this stuff going on, and it's just like I'm just not throwing tons of money everywhere. So I didn't get any, but I wanted to see the game, and I was like, this could be fun. I like tower defense games. I could have fun playing this. And if it gives me a way to use some of my random Chaos Legion cards that I have sitting around, all the better. So yeah, I would love to see it, but I just don't like the impression I have is that they don't have the capacity to do like that whole completely different project. So yeah, like you said, it would be, if the DAO wants to vote to hire, an outside development company, or to hire, someone to do it, to finish it off. I mean, I also have, because it was at some, it was out to a third party company to do a lot of the work, right? So, it would be nice to know sort of like how much is left to be done, what needs to be done, where was the project at when it was halted. It was just sort of, I don't know, I haven't really heard much about what the status was when it went dark. So it would be good to know, how much do we need to get over that hump, and to get something out that would be playable in a, it doesn't have to be totally polished, but in somewhat finished state where, it could attract people to Splinterlands, into the ecosystem. So
Yeah. I would like to know the answers to those sort of questions before, weighing in on whether, we should be focusing resources to it or not. So,
Well, I think, and Virus, maybe you could speak more to this. You've got the background in the development world, but to my understanding, what is remains to be completed on Soulkeep and push us to the finish line there is getting the tokenomics to play nicely with Splinterlands. I think the game side of Soulkeep is ready to go. And all that needs to happen is, SPS staking. We've seen the table of what's required to earn respective rewards at each respective league. Yeah, so to my understanding, all that remains is the tokenomics piece. That said, I would probably vote in favor of allocating DAO resources to hiring that third party team, just because, like you said, it attracts a new market of gamers and it gives SPS additional utility. But yeah, so Virus, did you have a different understanding of kind of the state or status of Soulkeep and what that, what is the difference between here and the finish line?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what you're saying is like the tokenomics part of it, and probably maybe even the NFT integration part of it too. So any kind of blockchain related functionality, which is, the integration of the Web 2 game that it probably is, and then with the outside Splinterlands assets that make it Web 3. So my thought is that they need an internal person to Splinterlands that can do that integration. And I know that, I don't know if they're still talking to any of the devs that have been let go, or if there's anyone that could come back that could take that in that kind of role. But that'd be a person I'd like, if we did actually have the DAO hire a person to do that, I'd like to have someone that is familiar with the internal development of Splinterlands, kind of do something like that, and with the Hive blockchain and with their own databases and things like that Splinterlands uses to be able to do that. I don't think you just hire a third party company. I think you have to have someone that's internal to the company that knows how Splinterlands works to kind of finish it off. So because I've heard that too, like, oh, we can go out and hire a third party company to kind of finish this off. But I think that's the trouble, is that this was a third party company, but they just don't know how Splinterlands itself, like how their systems work and how to integrate the Splinterlands systems with this game.
All right, fellas. Well, we've got a town hall next week, and I saw a good post from shout out to the Hota that SPS. He's a big presence on Twitter. Puts out some good content consistently. He put out a poll for what is the community most interested in hearing about for the upcoming town hall, the first of 2024, and the first in, I guess at that point it will be the first town hall in 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And trying to gauge sentiment around what is the community most excited about. The options were battle wagons, the Great Card Burn event, Land 2.0 white paper, or the 2024 roadmap. I'd be curious to get where are you guys most excited to kind of get some more detail and start sinking your teeth into around what's coming in the town hall.
Yeah, I think the battle wagons is the big question right now, is that they told us how they were going to work before, but then they said it sounded like they were going to kind of take it back to make some changes to it, because they had some concerns that it was going to be whale dominated or whatever else with the drawing. So I definitely want to hear what their changes are to it, if they're going to make any changes to how the battle wagons are going to work. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I want to hear about.
Yeah, I would agree. I thought, yeah, they'd seem like the battle wagons were going to be pretty whale dominated. So I've kind of, I don't know. I guess I'll get some because I've got vouchers, and what else am I going to do with them? But
I didn't anticipate getting, really many airdrops, or if I even get any at all. So, we'll see. I'm excited to hear what the roadmap is. I kind of want to hear what the direction we're going to be on now that land is out, rebellion's out. I'm hoping the roadmap kind of, sets out at least some guideposts for some of the things we've talked about with rewards cards, new rewards card sets, land 2.0, and maybe kind of what their direction is going to be for, focusing on new player experience and how they're going to try to, address some of that stuff. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to kind of see, where we're going to be headed in this next year.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't know that the battle wagons are going to be all that whale dominated. I don't know who's going to hold more than a gold foil max set. Like, I think there's kind of a ceiling to that. Like, who's going to stake more than that, because you can't rent those cards and you can't do anything else with them. So if someone's really going out there and they're holding more than a full gold foil set, and they're really putting investment to try to get those airdrops, I guess. So there's almost kind of a ceiling to where they can earn. But yeah, that's another part too, though, that the roadmap is how they plan, or like when they're kind of planning on implementing things, would be great to hear, even, just for land, to hear like maybe what their thoughts are, and like when the next things will be coming in between the grain LP and, soul bound card unlock for land and things like that. Like how long they think it might take to get some of these pieces in, as we kind of move towards 2.0. Like if they think that this is something that's going to be coming in Q2 for these certain aspects and things like that. So I definitely like to hear that.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, right? Is like, when do we get that next part of land? And we've kind of talked about this a little bit on the podcast before, that or at least I've said that, they've talked about how, we had to do all this work with land 1.5, but we built this foundation to make everything else easier moving forward, but how true is that actually going to be? Or are we going to run into, or do we just think that's what we did, and we're going to run into hurdles that we didn't anticipate when we're trying to move some of this stuff forward? So I think getting that next part of land and seeing how long that takes and the work that had to go into it will kind of show us a lot. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how long it takes to get to that next piece.
Virus, we asked Tails about it. We asked Matt Clark about it. Land 2.0, it seems like the overwhelming sentiment is maybe 2024. Matt Clark, shout out to Matt Clark. Matt Clark and I both are kind of in camp. It's coming sooner rather than later. Every time we talk to you, every time I run into you, you seem to have more and more growing on Camp Virus, and at this point, you're a pretty big, significant landholder. If for the guys that aren't holding a tractor or region, I would say you've got to be up in the top couple of percentiles. Where do you kind of see 2.0 coming? Are you thinking 2024 if we're lucky, or are you in camp they're going to surprise us?
I think I'm kind of with the 2024 if we're lucky kind of thing, like towards the later half of 2024. I think things are going to come piecemeal. So I think we'll see portions of what's been talked about as land 2.0, whether it's buildings or whether it's, there'll probably be a release with the different resource types and things like that. But, we might see the ruins earlier than other pieces and things like that. So, I mean, there's, it depends on, if you're saying when will 2.0 be complete as per the white paper, then yeah, I definitely think they'll be towards, if we're lucky, the later part of 2024.
Well, guess we'll see. What does that roadmap bring us next week? Hopefully that's got to be a given. We're getting a roadmap next week, right? I would assume that's, first town hall of the year. It took a week delay. The roadmap has to be kind of front and center, I would imagine. But Yeah, cool. Either way, I feel like we've talked about it a couple of times in the last few episodes. I'm more bullish on Splinterlands than I have been in a really long time. Rebellion has been so much fun to see come into the meta, and yeah, it's the tactics
It's
is
fun. I've had a lot of fun. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of folks are feeling similarly.
I feel like, especially for us too, and I know Virus, I think you're in the same boat that, we kind of came, because you kind of came in Chaos Legion, right? Or just before Chaos Legion. So, this is like our first chance to especially with Modern, to be, to have the ability to have all the cards, I guess, like at more reasonable prices than others, So, yeah, it's just been to be able to kind of get, like those untamed cards that you were never going to be able to afford out of your face all the time. Like I said, out of that brawl, when I was like all cards in that brawl, like the first match I did, it's a little thrown off, and I submitted my team, and it like went right to play the match. I was like, oh great. I'm like, what do I got? I'm like, oh, it didn't matter if I was flustered because I was just up against a Jotun group that I was never going to beat anyway, so that didn't matter. But then I was able to do it well in the rest of them. But yeah, I just like, it's been so much fun to have the meta change, but being able to kind of finally be able to have all those cards. So I know, Virus, you've been excited about this kind of day for a long time too. So I know you're in that boat.
Yeah, and I think there's plenty of people that I'll go up and face them, and I'll message them afterwards like, oh, that was a great play. I wish I had thought of that. I'll have to remember that one for next time, and things like that. So there's a lot of us that are in the chaos generation that are kind of getting to have our moment to be able to play with the full deck, and or at least a good portion of it, and learn like the full strategy of it without any kind of constraints to saying we can't really say anymore that, oh, they got that kitty, there really wasn't a chance.
Yeah.
So now there's kind of now you got to really kind of learn what the meta is, and there's not as many excuses anymore if you end up losing it, except for the RNG. Now RNG is the big problem.
Yeah. I like that the chaos generation. I think we got our pull quote. So
yeah.
Rise of the chaos generation.
Yep.
It's the time. Yeah.
Yep.
Fun time in Splinterlands. All right, fellas. Well, before we completely put a bow on this thing, is there anything else you guys want to get into the airwaves?
No, I mean, I'm just having fun playing games and getting in tournaments and learning this meta. I think that there's an initial meta that comes out with everyone using Grim Bardoon and Lily and stuff like that, but pretty soon we're getting to the nitty gritty of what's the counters and what's the odd plays. Who's gonna find out how Nomos is really actually good in a certain match or something like that. So I'm having a lot of fun right now, and I'm excited to keep playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you been buying like ECR like I have? I don't know how, or have you just kind of been doing 25 to whatever matches to 24 matches a day, or have you been kind of finding yourself on those going on tilt and just like, oh, I'm going to buy some more ECR tonight and get a few 10 more matches in or something?
So I mean, I've gotten my ECR quite a ways down, but I think you're in a lucky spot, because in Gold League, it's a lot more worth it to get that ECR, especially because I was watching some of the After Sounds earnings from some of his matches, and it really wasn't that far off from Diamond Champ levels of what people were making. So
yeah, I'm getting like can get like 5-6 SPS per win, and I'm like, doing the math, I'm like, well, especially if SPS gets where we all hope it gets one day, I'm like, this is, a no-brainer. I've got to buy some more ECR and play some more. I'm surprised to see I've gone up against After Sound a couple times. I've seen him in the Gold League, and I saw Darkest Night. Shout out to Darkest Night if he's listening. I had a battle up against him the other day. I think I beat Darkest Night, and I've beaten After Sound every time I've seen him. So
nice.
But yeah, they're out there.
That's fired.
Oh man, 5 or 6 SPS in gold is awesome. I think
Yeah.
I'm
If you've got like a good match where I can play a bunch of my gold foils and stuff, and like my Lux Vega or something too. Like, yeah, you can get bumped up there. It's nice.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm at an 11x boost, and my battle from a few hours ago, I got 6.5 SPS, and I'm at the bottom of Champ 2 at the moment. But yeah, the energy stuff is interesting. It's so expensive at Champ. I have been guilty of buying energy, but I'm looking at it as cards and battles is the way to upping my SPS bag. And if you're looking at pure volume, you're not looking at SPS as a 3 cent token, and instead just looking at the volume of the bag that you are stacking tokens in. It feels a little bit more worthwhile, or at least it makes the pain of 50 cents per battle a little bit easier to swallow. But yeah, I mean, we talked to Matt Clark about it, and I've heard him reference this a few times, in that cards are such a fun way to invest in SPS through battles, and being able to play tourneys with that stuff. And shout out to Rogue. We got him coming on next week. I'm gonna steal his phrase, play with your bags. That's the name of the game at the moment. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I'm justifying buying energy by stacking that SPS. I did just pass this morning on my rewards claim. Actually, I passed 150k SPS, which nice. Yeah, a year ago, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would touch that number, and now I'm looking at 200 as the next landmark.
Yeah, it's great to see that stake grow. It's growing a lot faster now that you have access to getting in towards the top of the leader, or higher up in the leaderboards and things like that with the cards you're playing with. So, and plus the rewards from Modern, when you're playing manually, you're being rewarded for it hugely. So
yeah,
it definitely feels good to see that the amount stake that you have grow with it.
Yeah, it happens quickly too. I think when and this is without additional outside investment in SPS. I think I was at 105 when Modern became no bot Modern. So 8 months, 50k SPS. I feel like that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're mining some SPS on land, and getting 100 or so 200 SPS a day doing battles, it adds up pretty quickly. And then stake, and then you can get your staking rewards and reinvest, and yeah, it's nice. It's definitely, yeah, because I mean, I remember when I was at hit 50,000, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. I hit 50, and now I'm like at 70. Like all of a sudden I'm at like 70,000, over 70,000 now. I'm just like, wow, all right, yeah. Can only imagine those guys who are at who have a few million SPS already. How there's and a ton of land, so they're probably rolling it over pretty well. I wonder. I mean, Azure Crown was on here, before Christmas, and he was talking to us about the rewards he was getting for land and battles and stuff like that. And you're like, wow, that's.
And his staked rewards were like the SPS that I would get in a season. What he was claiming every day was equivalent to what I was pulling on.
What
like
we
2
saw
weeks.
the number we saw it go up when he was showing it to us on a screen for like the 3 minutes he had it on and was talking about it. He gained more than I gained in a season. So
yeah.
So,
but yeah, the tournaments too. It's I can't remember who does the posts on Peak D, but it's cool seeing my name come up on the tournaments list for who's been earning the most in tournaments. So I'm starting to get pinged on Peak D now with some of my tournament earnings.
Sweet.
That's cool.
Is that Yasik? Is that Jace K that does that?
Yep. Yeah, it's Yasik.
Yeah.
That's he does those weekly posts about how people did for the week for the tournaments. So yeah, the tournament earnings too, is I've still got, I think, a little bit of learning to do with playing the cards still in tournaments. Sometimes I don't always do the grace in those, but still to kind of actually get some earnings from those League of Champions or the gold invitationals and things like that feels pretty good to get those winnings.
Sweet. Yeah, that's something I'm really looking forward to. Is I ignored tournaments for pretty much all of last year, and then I started playing them again, and once Untamed Went Out, Rebellion came in, I signed up for as many as I could, and then Clay realized that the buy-in for like the Diamond Rebellion, for example, if you're in Champ, you're paying, I think it's like 100 SPS to play the tournament.
Wow.
But the kicker is that if you're playing gold foils, you could play any of the league tournaments for the standard buy-in fee. But if you're playing regular foils, and you're reaching outside of your league, you've got to pay out the wazoo, which doesn't make sense to me. I feel like if you're investing in Diamond Champ level decks, you should be able to play in any tournament regardless of. But yeah, we'll see. That's something I am looking forward to from Clay is what does the new tournament structure look like, and by the sound of it, Modern is going to be weighted much more significantly than it has in the past, which bodes well for the Chaos generation again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to definitely as those tournament changes and see what happens from there.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, fellas. Well, a lot of fun. I'm glad to see, this is a great episode to kickstart the year with. To all our listeners out there, Happy New Year. It's good to be back, and hope you guys had safe and fulfilling holiday season with the family, and travel went well and all the rest. And we will see you next week for an episode with Rogue Patton. Play with your bags. I'm sure we'll hear that phrase come up a couple of times.
Nice. Yeah. Looking forward to that. Yeah. Thanks.
Cool.
Thanks, Virus. Thanks for being on, man. It's been awesome to have you on and talk about this new set. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me on.
Cool.
Yeah. Cheers. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next week. Hope you enjoyed the show. You have been listening to
The People's Guild.